Lots of people collect things. My Aunt Vivian used to joke that she collected people. She'd always done it since I could remember. Rolling along next to me as we went on one of our outings, she would always have a Polaroid camera dangling from a strap around her neck, like a 90s kid's idea of an old-fashioned reporter. Not that I thought about it back then. She'd always had it, and she didn't use it all the time. Just when we ran across certain people. I asked her once what made her decide who to take pictures of, and at first she just gave me her beautiful, mysterious smile. She was 20 years older than me, but she looked much younger when she smiled like that. Laughing, she held up the camera like she was going to take my picture. I just look for those people that are extra shiny to me. She lowered it again without snapping, as her smile faded a little. Why didn't you take a picture of me then? Aren't I shiny? I had injected a bit of fake hurt into my voice. At least, I thought it was fake. Gripping the wheels of her chair, she turned and started heading across the food court where we'd just eaten lunch. You're plenty shiny, sure, but I already have you, don't I? Running to catch up with her, I put my hands gently on the chair's handles without really adding any push. Sure, Viv, sure. She glanced back at me with a grin. That's what I thought. She had hundreds of photos, all organized in some organizational scheme that I didn't understand. Maybe it was alphabetical. After all, she never took someone's photo without asking permission and getting their name first. The few times when I was really young that I'd suggested someone or something for her to take a picture of, she'd almost always politely refused. No pictures of squirrels or dogs or trees, and no pictures of people unless they met Vivian's shiny criteria, and they agreed to be taken. Stacks and stacks of albums of strangers, some shy or awkward or even annoyed, though many were smiling, happy to oblige the pretty woman in the wheelchair that thought they were worthy of her time and film. When I was in high school, they filled a bookshelf, and by the time I graduated college, she devoted a walk-in closet to 4 larger shelves, all low enough that she could reach every book easily. That ease of use was a necessity, though I didn't figure that out until I was a bit older. I lived a few hours away by that point, and while I still saw Aunt Viv at most big holidays and birthdays, I couldn't deny that she felt more remote now. Growing up, we'd spent whole weeks together, just the two of us, and I missed that closeness, that friendship. Maybe that's why I went to see her on the spur of the moment, thinking it would be nice to get away from my graduate work and a good surprise to visit her without a particular reason. I had to ring her doorbell several times before I got an answer, and when I did, I let out a small, involuntary gasp before putting my bag down and crouching next to Vivian. What? Are you sick? She gave me a wan smile that seemed to painfully stretch her dry, cracked lips. Those lips were too pale, but everything about her seemed pale and fragile in that moment. Everything but her eyes, that still danced with the same bright life and intelligence behind heavy, bruised-looking eyelids. A little, maybe. Overtired, mainly. I've been working on a project I do every few months, and it's just, well, it's taken more out of me this time than usual. Standing up, I grabbed my bag and walked in at her waving invitation. Do you need to go to a doctor or something? She laughed, but it was strained and thin. No, nothing like that. I'll be right as rain soon enough. I'd never known Viv to lie to me, but I didn't believe her then. Something was really wrong, and she was too stubborn or private to tell me about it. That was her right, of course, but that fact didn't help me worry less. Giving her a smile I didn't feel, I nodded. Okay, if you say so. But at least let me help you with whatever you're doing, okay? Just tell me what to do, and I can do it while you rest. It felt like she considered my offer for a very long time. It was probably less than 10 seconds, but things seemed to stretch out forever as I waited awkwardly for her to reject my help. Okay, I can trust you with it. Follow me. Her expression didn't change during this, just closed and neutral as she wheeled off toward the back of the house with me close behind. I wasn't surprised when she led me to her picture closet, but then I saw the interior of the room. There were twice as many shelves now, and while some were empty, the filled space had clearly been growing at an increasing rate. On the far end of the middle shelves, I noticed a small stack of albums that were on a short table there. What was she doing with them? As if reading my thoughts, she answered right away. Pruning. I only keep photos of people while they're alive. It's a custom I have. When I first started, I'd have to rely on newspapers and various paid services to find out when someone in my books passed. But since the internet got big, it's much easier. Vivian chuckled. Still time-consuming, of course. It takes way more time as I collect more people. And the longer I do it, the more likely that people will die. She shrugged. Still, it must be done. I stared at her. Why? Why did it need to be done? It sounded boring and tedious. And what difference did it make? I wanted to ask her, but I held my tongue. For all her energy and interests, I knew that Vivian often had a hard and lonely life. So what if she wanted to have odd hobbies and attach weird rituals to them? Who did it hurt? And if it helped her, wasn't it worth it? So, what can I do? Take out pictures of dead people? She grinned at me. No, I can do that part. You can do the research. I spent the next 2 days pruning with Viv. I think we removed over 300 people from over 4,000 in the books, though at some point I lost count. When I left the next day, I wouldn't say that Vivian looked like her old self, but she did seem more rested and relaxed. She also made me promise to visit more often, and when I said I would, I meant it. Over the next 2 years, I did visit more, and other than a joking comment here or there, I never really brought up how quickly her collection was growing. You might think that she'd start running out of people in the area where she lived, but she almost never took pictures there. Instead, she traveled all over. West Coast, East Coast, big cities and little towns no one has ever heard of. Looking up their obituaries and death certificates, I could have quickly accrued my own collection covering every state in the country. I asked her once why she never traveled abroad for any pictures, and she just smirked at me. Harder to get death information out of the country. I paused at that, weighing whether it was a joke or serious. When her smirk broke into a grin, I returned it, going back to looking up if Ruby Halsick was still in the land of the living. There was the name, and checking it against the picture, yeah, it looked like she died 6 months earlier in a car accident. During these years, I didn't really see my other family that often. Christmas maybe, or when someone was very sick. My time was taken up by school primarily, and when I had free time for family, I usually spent it with Viv. Seeing her more often made it harder for me to notice her decline. Harder, but not impossible. I wanted to ask her what was going on and if she was going to be okay. Because, for all the time I'd spent with her, I'd never fully understood what put her in that chair or kept her there. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to ask her directly. Worried that she'd get mad or depressed, or suddenly think I saw her as less of a person than a problem, or the disease that put her in that position. So instead, I went home and asked my mother. For her part, she looked startled. She even paled a bit. Why are you asking about this? I shrugged. I've just been hanging out with Aunt Viv some, and I worry about her. She's getting worse. Weaker. Lighting a cigarette, my mother nodded. You were always close with her. Closer than I ever was. She was younger than me and your Uncle Andy. Not by a lot, but enough. Enough that she was the baby, and we didn't really want her around. She fluttered her hand dismissively. Not that we didn't love her. We did. But to a couple of older kids, she was just a pain. And when she got older, she started getting sick. Everyone thought she was going to die. My eyes widened. Is that when she went into the wheelchair? She shook her head. Not yet. That didn't happen until she was a teenager. This thing she has? I don't remember what they call it, but it burns you out fast. It starts with headaches and falling down more. Then one day, maybe your feet are numb or your legs don't work good anymore. Before long, you're in a chair, then a bed, then you're gone. She glanced up at me with a guarded look. At least, that's what they told us. It's strange, hearing that your sister has a short shelf life, like she's a jug of milk or something. Me and Andy figured she'd be gone within a year or two, and we felt guilty for not hurting more at the idea of losing her. Again, it wasn't that we didn't love her. It was more like we couldn't really see the real her, past all the responsibility and expense and hassle, all the attention she got, and how everything revolved around her. And so, knowing that she was going to die soon, we really did feel sad about it. Terribly sad. But there was some relief there, too. Jesus. I just stared at her, not sure what to say. My mother shrugged as she took another drag on the cigarette. I know how it sounds. I do. But we were kids. And besides, she wound up living after all. Trying to keep my voice even, I asked a question that had been fluttering around in my head the past few minutes. How? How did she live if she was supposed to die so quick? Was she misdiagnosed? My mother shook her head. No one ever said it was a wrong diagnosis. It was just chalked up to a miracle. You're too young to remember this, but your grandmother used to call her Miracle Baby, sometimes even after she was grown. And she did it all the time when we were young. It was annoying, but I got it. It really did seem like something magical had happened. She went from looking worse on a weekly basis to being stronger and healthier again. For a while, you couldn't even tell anything was wrong with her. Then she started slipping and falling again. Not long after, she had to go into a chair. Again, we thought she was going to die soon, but no. After a few weeks, she was looking better. Stronger and healthier. She never got her legs back. You couldn't even tell it bothered her most of the time. She'd just roll around snapping pictures with those cameras of hers. Happy and popular and full of life. She paused and shot me a look. She still doing that thing with taking pictures? I nodded silently. My mother snorted. Figures. She was always a weird girl. I love her, but weird as hell. After that, I noticed the ebbs and flows in Vivian more. She would slowly decline and then she'd spring back, though I realize now that her high point was always slightly lower than the time before. And the catalyst for the improvement was always the same: pruning out the dead people from her collection. I think I'd noticed that from the start, but I always told myself that it was a coincidence, or my imagination, or that the ritual itself or the company I provided were just giving her a temporary boost. But as I watched her dip lower and lower, only to come back every time, well, eventually I knew that something more was going on. That being said, I didn't understand it, and I didn't really want to question it if it helped her. It wasn't my curiosity or the growing sense of unease that I was part of something strange and unnatural. It wasn't even the tickle in the back of my head warning that this wasn't just magical. It was somehow wrong. No. What caused me to finally talk to Aunt Vivian about it was the truth I was confronting more and more every time she opened the door. You're dying. Aunt Vivian stopped sipping her coffee as she studied me over the rim of the cup. We'd finished this round of pruning that morning, but she still looked thin and worn out. Aren't we all? I frowned at her. That's not what I mean. I'm not stupid. I know these pictures are helping you somehow. Helping you fight whatever it is that's trying to take you. She didn't say anything, so I went on. But I also know that you're losing. Even with taking more pictures and pruning more often, it isn't bringing you back like it was. Sitting her cup down, she gave me a slight nod. Alright, so what's your point? Because if this is your attempt at a pep talk, you really suck at it. I couldn't help but smile, even though I felt like I could barely breathe. It's not... I don't understand how this works. And I don't really care so long as it helps you. But is there anything else we can do? To make it work better, or to heal you, or something? I saw something shining in her eyes. Maybe a brief sheen of tears. And then she was smiling at me. She looked so beautiful in that moment that I laughed. It didn't seem fair that she could be so wonderful and have to face so much pain and worry. When I was young, I almost died. Your mother may have told you this, and I won't bore you with all the details. But I got a very bad, very aggressive disease that kills most people pretty quick. And I could feel it working on me. Like vines, tightening around another plant until it's dead. I was scared, of course, and I tried to do anything to distract myself. I couldn't play much with how I was feeling, but I still made myself walk around some every day, as though with enough exercise I could keep my limbs from betraying me. I'd gotten an instant camera for my birthday that year, and I got the idea of taking pictures as I went around the neighborhood. I took a couple pictures of animals, but something told me to take pictures of people instead. So that's exactly what I did. The next day, I felt better. So I went out walking again. This time further. In part because I had more energy. In part because I somehow knew I needed to collect different people. The day after that, I felt even better. And that afternoon, I asked your grandfather to get me more film on his way home from work. This went on for another week, and by the end of it, I felt like I'd never been sick. If anything, I felt better than I ever had, though I tried to hide it a little. I wasn't trying to lie. Not really. It was more just instinct that I didn't want to stand out more than was necessary. After that, I took less pictures, but I still took them. I'd go a few days, and then I'd get the urge. The one time I ignored it, I started feeling sick again, and I didn't need that lesson twice. I was like you. I didn't know what was happening, but I didn't care so long as I stayed healthy. And I did. For a long time, I did. But this thing, I think of it like a tiger sometimes. It's always there, tracking me, trailing me, waiting to jump on me and bring me down. I was 14 when my legs started going again. I took more pictures and I could feel it helping a little. It wasn't nearly enough. The tiger had me now, and it was going to drag me down to some place I couldn't come out of. And then one day, our grandpa came to visit. He was a preacher in another state, and it was rare that we ever saw him. But I guess my mother had told him that I likely didn't have a lot of time left. He came and sat with me for a couple of hours, talking to me, praying, telling me that God loved me. He was a nice enough man, but he smelled like cloves, and I didn't really know him. I just wanted him to go so I could sleep. He was about to go when he noticed the camera on my bedside table, asked me if I liked taking pictures, if I would take a picture of him. I wanted to say no, but something inside stopped me. Instead, I picked up the camera, framed him, and hit the button. Then, I hit it again. I knew right away it was different. My skin was tingling as I waved to him and pretended to drift asleep. I waited until I heard everyone going outside to see him off, to see if I was well again. I fell to the floor. I had healed myself, partially. I wasn't dying anymore. Not for the moment. But my legs were still numb. I tried over the next several weeks to get them back, too. I took more pictures, but I always held off from taking more than one. Why? I couldn't help but interrupt. Why wouldn't you take double pictures or a dozen pictures if that helped more? You might be able to walk. She nodded with a rueful smile. Yeah, probably so. But the reason I didn't was because after my grandfather left our house that day, he died. Just stopped. It was only an hour down the road from where I'd taken his pictures, and his car hadn't even really wrecked. It just rolled into a ditch after he stopped living. They tried to claim it was a heart attack at the time, but I got the death certificate later. Indeterminate cause of death. I guess the medical examiner didn't know to look for curses. I frowned at her. You don't know you cursed him. Shrugging, she took another sip of coffee. I know that he died because of me, and that I benefited from it. I know I'm doing a lesser version of the same to everyone I take pictures of, draining a bit of their life so I can live. I felt my stomach clench painfully. How do you know that? She raised an eyebrow. You know. Why do you think I remove and destroy the photos of people who have died? They don't help me once they're dead. In fact, the opposite. I sometimes wonder if the reason it hit me again so hard when I was 14 was because I hadn't known to prune. That idea didn't occur to me until a month or two after my grandfather died. It felt like I was fighting death after all, or bargaining with it. And anyone who was already dead was just more weight against me. So I started weeding out the people that were dead. It was just a few back then. Right away, I felt stronger. Giving a short, bitter laugh, she went on. And it's not that I didn't think about taking more double pictures back then, but I was a child, and I felt good except for my legs. So I told myself it was good enough. And for a time, it was. I swallowed. So you never tried taking two again? Vivian smiled at me. I did. Once. I was in my late 20s. My health was okay, but I was very depressed and lonely. I wanted a full life, and I convinced myself I was rejecting a gift that I'd been given. So I started watching the newspapers, found a man who had been let out on bail after killing his wife and child. It didn't take long before I had my pictures, and he was dead. Did it work? She waggled her hand back and forth. Yes and no. I definitely felt stronger and more alive. I still couldn't walk. That's what made me realize it wasn't just the second picture and the dying that made it more powerful. It was the connection. I had gotten more from him dying, but far less than when my blood relative had died and brought me back from the edge. But even my grandfather, he was kin, but I barely knew him. Her smile widened. Imagine if it was someone that I was kin to and I loved. I felt my skin grow cold. You want to use me? Aunt Vivian's smile faded away. What would you say if I did? Swallowing, I nodded. I mean, yeah. I don't want to die. But if it helps you that much, maybe it'd be okay. She looked almost angry as her lips drew into a thin line. Get up then. Go to your room and lie down on the bed. Nodding again, I stood up shakily and did as she told me. When I was on the bed, I looked up to see her in the doorway to the room, camera in her lap. Lifting it, she snapped my photo once. You shouldn't be so quick to give your life away. Take it from someone that's fought for it every day for a long time. Her face softened. I do love you for it, though. Enough to not take a second picture. Are you sure? She raised a hand. Yes. But I do need you to do something for me. Toss me your phone. I'm going to lock you in here. There's a bag in the bottom of the closet. Bottles of water and health bars. And you have a bathroom. In 4 days, someone will come and let you out. But I need you to stay in here until that happens, okay? Throwing her my phone, she caught it deftly as I stared at her. A bag? Have you been planning on locking me in here? Viv laughed softly. I have several plans all the time, even if I don't know exactly when or if I'll need them. This was one of them, though I'd have called it a long shot. Still, I'm very happy it worked out this way. She raised an eyebrow. Will you trust me and do as I ask? I nodded. You're not gonna kill yourself or something, right? Chuckling, she shook her head. You haven't been paying attention. I love living too much for that. But you're right. Things can't keep going like they are. And I've been patient long enough. It's time to harvest what's been planted. With that, she shut the door and locked me in. I thought about breaking out over the next few days, but I wanted to keep my promise, so I didn't. And, true to her word, on the 4th day, a guy I'd never seen before opened the door and told me my phone was on the kitchen table before walking back out. When I got my phone, I had several missed messages. A couple from friends, one from a girl I had been talking to lately, and several from my mother. It was the last few of those that really caught my attention. Are you going to be around this weekend? You aren't answering your phone. Vivian is throwing this party. Well, it's at our house, so maybe I'm throwing it. But she wants all the family there. Your sister is coming, and so is Uncle Andy and his family. Viv will be heartbroken if you aren't there. Viv is about to start family pictures. Where are you? I stared at my phone. The last text was from the night before. Oh, fuck. The official report, which came weeks later, said that everyone must have died from some kind of gas leak, though there was no sign of anything like that the next morning when police arrived to do a wellness check at Uncle Andy's wife's request. Seems she got a stomach bug at the last second and hadn't made the trip after all, though their two little girls had. Not that Vivian would mind that much. Aunt Allison wasn't blood after all, and they'd never been very close. As for Viv, there was no sign. Her bank accounts were empty, her photo albums were gone, and there was no trace of her at the party where most of her family had died. Well, that's not entirely true. Because amid the dead bodies and decaying party food that filled the living room and kitchen of my parents' house, one thing stood out. An old wheelchair, left behind like a discarded cocoon.
Become a channel member today for early access, bonus videos, and special emojis only available to members. Check out the description below or click the join button for more info. If you'd like another way to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/JordanGroupeHorror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward, and if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow. And see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.